Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me tonight, and I appreciate that. I have a special show for you tonight, and the Even People show, we have a landmark milestone that we're crossing today. I think this is our fifth country that we have actually had this show streamed live from. So we're in our fifth country today. We're in St. Lucia. I was not gonna stop the show because I'm wherever I'm at. You know what I mean? We just gotta do what we gotta do. So I appreciate y'all being here. My very special guest today is Juli-Anne Lee. And before I introduce her, I gotta run my beautiful bean footage, aka my intro. Let's go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, like I said, for being with us here today in our milestone show. And I wouldn't have it any other way. My guest tonight is Juli-Anne Lee. She's so many things. Like I didn't even know what angle to go at her from. She has so many things going on. But she's into fashion. She's into fashion shows. She's into pageantry. She legitimately is a lawyer. She worked in finance. She is a designer. She hosts a talk show called the Truly Julie Experience, and we're just like scratching the iceberg here. But without further ado, we got to get into this some more and see what the Truly Julie has going on today. And I must apologize first of all for my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is not as lit as it used to be, but we're gonna get this done today.
Okay.
Julie Lee, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Man, I've been wanting to have
Finally,
you.
finally.
I, we've been trying to work this out for a minute though, right?
Right. We're paid. Nothing happens before the time. So
That's what I say. That's what I say. And you are glowing as ever. I saw so I gotta say this. I Julian Lee, I saw you post some birthday photos the other day. The men know say people and full up your inbox, innit? What was going on? What was this about?
hey, it was just me stepping into, as I titled it, stepping into 49. Um, I took it as a special birthday because actually one of my friends, we were in a group from high school, and she passed on her 49th birthday. So
Mm.
I'm celebrating this crap. Oh,
Hey,
100%.
when I was looking for photos to use for the show, I came
Uh-huh.
across those photos. I'm like, what? I can't use these photos. I can't use this photo. It's not that
Was
kind of
something
show.
wrong with that?
No, oh no, there's nothing
Oh,
wrong with them at
okay.
all.
All right. All right.
Nothing. Oh no, not at all. They
Okay.
were,
All right.
they were very, very nice photos. I like them personally. They were very nice.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into this, Julie. 'Cause like I
Yes.
said, you have a lot of things, and I have a lot to cover. So we're gonna jump into it. So
Okay.
Julian Lee, the Julian Lee, not a lot of people know now. Back in Jamaica, when modeling and fashion shows and pageantry was just like a spark in your eye.
Mm.
Um, but then you migrated to the US, and your two BAs that you got at that time were in philosophy and psychology. Now, what was going on here? Like, what prompted you to go from where you were into these two fields?
Okay, well, I've always had an interest in psychology. I would always pick up psychology books even when I was young because I always like, to find out how the mind works. Why is it some people act like such idiots?
I
And
know, right?
others act normal. So that's where my interest in psychology came from. So interested in modeling, fashion. I was actually swimming when I was in high school. I was on swim teams and stuff like that. And it's what a lot of parents would say. That creative stuff is all well and good, but what are you going to do to make money? Right. And I said, okay, since I like psychology, when I migrated and went to New York, I said, okay, that's something that I think, spend 4 years and learn about. The philosophy came in because when I was in my second year, I decided I wanted to go to law school instead of med school because I had actually started out on the med school track, but the amount of studying, the amount of pressure and everything like that, that's not something I was used to when I was in high school. And I said, you know what? I'm not saying I'd never do it, but right out of high school, that wasn't it for me.
So here's the thing, Julie. I have a B side. I have a B side to this question. Would you say, was it a matter of inner conflict that had you like moving around that way, or were you actually trying to be everything everybody wanted you to be?
No, I was actually trying to find something that I liked to do because yes, I was always encouraged growing up, find stuff you like to do and do it. However, on the career side, the money side, you want to do something, you want to also have something that you can make money from. So yes, it's all well and good, you're interested in fashion and pageantry and this and that, but at the same time, have something more as a backup if those things don't work. Right? Have something as a backup. So I said, okay, at the time that made sense. If you ask me that question now, I'd probably give a different answer. But back then, I said, okay, it made sense. So I went the psychology route. And when I went to law school and was when I thought I was interested in law school and was researching, one of the degrees that a lot of them had, apart from psychology, was philosophy, because philosophy teaches you how to reason. It's a lot of writing and all of that. So a lot of people, they do that as a second major or a minor or something like that. So I needed the credits, so I just did it as a second major.
Must be nice. Must be nice when you're so bright that you can just take up another BA just because you're in school. Why not?
No, the way it happened is when a lot of people are choosing their electives and you have no idea what to do. I said I did so many electives in philosophy that my advisor had said, you only need 2 more classes for a major, right? So I said, okay.
So you're double major.
Yes, double major.
All right, so let's do this. Let's fast forward 10 years. We fast forward 10 years and we find Juli-Anne Lee, the lawyer, specializing in entertainment and intellectual property law, successfully completed law school, and decided, you know what, I'm leaving New York. I'm relocating because I don't want to practice law. The thing I just finished, I realized at the end of it, when I've successfully captured what many, many people have attempted and failed at, I've done it. I've done it. This is me. I have literally letters behind my name, but this is not what I want to do. Relocated.
So let me cut you a little bit.
Tell me.
I knew before I finished that I didn't want to do it. I knew after my first year I didn't want to do it.
That don't make it no better, really.
However, the only reason I kept on was, as a Jamaican, you have your parents, and what is the one phrase I tell you? Mm-hmm. Finish things that you start. Mm-hmm. So I had that in my head. I said, I can't start this and then not finish it. Okay, I'm a finisher. I complete what I start.
Okay.
And then I said, how would it look to parents? How would it look? At that time, I was concerned with what other people would think. And then I said, you know what? Okay, let me finish it. But when I finished, I said, nah, this is truly not for me. So thanks for the JD for the letters, but I'm not gonna go that route.
So here's the thing. So my B part of that question
You
was
have all your questions have B parts, right?
I you're a complex individual. I have to ask you
No.
questions that are
Okay.
complex to match. I'm
Oh
just trying to keep
Lord.
up here. I'm just trying to keep up here. I'm just a like teacher that never taught myself, but I'm just trying to keep up here. You know what I mean? But
Okay, sir.
so were you, in the words of Bob Marley, were you running away from yourself?
No, I actually knew myself and I was running away from what I know was not going to serve me.
Ah,
So because I know it was not going to serve me, why would I do this for other people? For who? It's not
mhm.
going to serve me. At the end of the day, I'm the one that has to live with whatever consequences, whatever feelings, because you know what? You can do something and say, I did it for you. What's the response? I didn't ask you to do it for me. So eventually, no, so it was because I knew myself and I knew that was not going to make me happy. I knew that was not going to make me feel fulfilled. Why
Mhm.
I said it makes no sense going in a direction that I see is a dead end for me.
I understand. I get it.
Right. So that's
All right.
why I did
No,
what I call rerouting. I
and you know
rerouted
what,
myself.
though, there's a lot of points that can be taken from that point in and of itself. There's a poem I have in the book. The first poem in the book actually is called "Intellectually in Love," and it talks about persons who go through their lives making the decisions they think they should make
Right.
because of how they're being guided, and then they arrive at a place one time and realize, you know what, this is actually not where I want to be. And if I actually made the decisions for myself along the way, I wouldn't even be here at all. So now you're at a crossroad faced with the decisions of, do I keep going like I'm going now that my eyes are opened, or do I change direction and go where I actually want to go now that I know what that is?
You see, for me, I figured that out pretty early. That may be partially because of, my family. Yes, they want you to do something to secure your future. You have your creative side, they want you to still do something that gives you a chance to earn money in case the creative side doesn't work out. However, and yes, you've been told finish what you start. However, it's never been you are going to do this because it sounds good, because you're a lawyer, because you're a doctor, because you're an engineer. If something does not make you happy, you always have the opportunity to research and find something that may make you happy and go for that. Okay, you don't have to stay stuck in something, doing a career you don't like. That is that is different from a lot of people I grew up with, that their dad was in business, they had to do business. Their dad was a doctor, they had to become a doctor to take over the practice one day. Things like that. No, I was encouraged to find what would make me happy and do it, but do something. Don't just sit down on your butt and not do anything, right?
Mhm.
So,
No, and like I said, Julian, this is something that I think everybody can take their sense out of it, their part that they can take from it and walk with. Because especially, I remember even when we were talking about G Cole before we went live, when I had G Cole on the show, and his thing kind of evolved the same way or in a similar way.
yes.
And he said, I mean, it's the same thing. Your parents, your grandma, and everybody, they want you to have, because think about it. Back in the day when
Here,
I was coming up in Jamaica, everybody want all of them fitness to be the same thing. And if all of those kids became the same thing, we don't know how the rest of society would have worked, because everybody would
Right.
have been doctor or lawyer or engineer, and there would be no other careers, right?
Right. There will be
And it is
nobody in construction to build the houses, no
mm,
mechanics to
no,
fix or build the cars,
mm.
things like that.
And
So,
people have to do other things, but sometimes we get caught in this loop. Where that's why I asked you the question: were you caught in the loop of trying to make everybody else happy, or try to make everybody happy all at once, or were you actually searching for Julian and trying to find who you were to get you to where you wanted to be?
okay, yes, as I said, I knew who I was to the point where law would not make me happy or fulfilled. So I
Mhm.
now had to go find that thing. And, fast forward a few years, it's been a few things, but I had to go find that thing apart from since I knew law wasn't going to be what made me happy, you
Well,
know.
let's talk about that thing. Let's talk about that thing. That thing would be, in my estimation, Julian Lee, the creative, right? So
Yes.
we're gonna there's several levels to that version of Julian Lee. Let's pick them apart for a little bit. Let's talk about um, Julian Lee, that has produced fashion shows and photo shoots. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Tell me about that.
Okay, well, I got introduced to fashion and pageantry, as I said, in Jamaica. Did one of these courses at Franciscan, finishing school,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
like 90% of that was deportment, etiquette, fashion, how to carry yourself, how to dress, how to do your hair, makeup, stuff like that, because it's important for you to be able, especially as a woman, to be able to present yourself in no matter what situation you're going to be in. So you're taught how to walk, we did the exercise with the book on our head kind of thing. And you're taught how to walk. So a lot of girls that did that course, they ended up going into pageantry like Miss Jamaica, for and entering Miss Jamaica World and Universe and stuff like that. I decided that the actual pageantry, me competing, wasn't me. I'm more of a background person. So I channeled that when I went to college into actually modeling in fashion shows, eventually producing fashion shows. I started designing my own clothing line. And so I had a couple of fashion shows around that. Since migrating to Florida, I've worked with organizations for a lot of charities like Boys and Girls Club, and doing a lot of other fashion shows, producing fashion shows. So it's something that I've always liked, and the photo shoots came in when I moved to Florida. So for magazines and private events and stuff like that. So that's something that took me into. I can't run away from fashion. Apart from the fact that I'm a girly girl, I can't run away from fashion. I always seem to gravitate towards doing stuff in fashion. So I became a fashion stylist, where I worked with different individuals. I worked with.
You see, you're jumping ahead of me, Julie.
Oh,
Because
I'm
my next
sorry.
question,
I'm
my
sorry.
next question was about the fashion stylist career at Gillian J LLC. That's my next question. But hey, go ahead, carry on.
Okay. So yes, so how I actually started that was, I said, I have all this experience in fashion. I realized what fashion can do for a person, because it not only gives you confidence in yourself, but as I said, it's how to present yourself to the outside world also, to get whatever it is that you want. If you want a job, you want to know how to dress yourself, so for interview, how to dress properly for interview. You want a job promotion, you want to know how to dress to step it up, level it up, because if you're getting promoted, your employers want to see that you already belong in the space you want to get to. It's not a matter of when I get there, then yeah, I'll start dressing like them or whatever. No, you have to show that you can already uh, hang with whoever is in that level that you want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
It may be because they now at your new level, you're going to be representing the company at conferences or speeches or stuff like that, right? It could be because you had kids, you stayed home for, let's say, 5, 6 years, and you're now going back out to work. You have no idea, what to do. Your
Right.
wardrobe needs to be updated, stuff like that. So because I understand that, I said, let me use that skill in order to help people who do need that.
And
Um,
now that takes us to, or takes me to the jewelry line, the Jillian J collections.
uh-huh.
Is that a part of this evolution? Tell us about that as well.
Yes, yes, it is actually, because after doing styling for a while, or after doing anything for a while, if you have a business, you want to know how can you either introduce your business to more people, offer more to the same customers that you have, or just grow your business. A lot of stylists, they have books. They put out books on how to, right? But I took it from a different perspective. I said, okay, have this I was creating jewelry for myself. And I said, I have this skill because I sometimes when I'm going out, I could not find the things that I want. What do you do but make it, right? So I said, make it. And I said, that could be a compliment to my styling. Okay. So I just used to make stuff and have people see if they want to buy it. Now I concentrate on custom jewelry. So it's you give me an order and then I go out and look for what it is and make it. It's
I like
much
it.
cheaper.
No, no,
It's
I like it.
you the client gets what they want because
Mhm.
most times they're trying to complement an outfit that they already have or what they want to
Right.
get. So I find it works better doing custom than just having a whole bunch of stuff, because then
Can I put in my
sometimes why,
order right now?
huh?
Can I put in my order right now?
After the show, man, after the show.
Okay, after the show. I tell you what
Yes,
I need.
after the show, because I do make
No, I
men's
don't. No, no.
jewelry,
I don't want it for me. I
or
don't want it for
whoever,
me.
or
I live,
whoever.
I live in a house full of women. I'm surrounded by women. You know what I mean? So I don't want it for me, but I got something in mind. I have
Okay.
something in mind.
All right, we talk after the show, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. So let's do this. And this is one of the things I really want to know about. Tell me about the truly Julie experience.
All right. So that is something. Well, not that show, but being a TV host for talk show has been something I have wanted to do since I was in high school. But I am here looking. You're in high school and you're watching JBC, and I really didn't see anybody looking like me,
I
right?
know, right?
So it's one of these things where at the time when you're a teenager, you're like, if you don't see somebody doing it, I didn't have the mindset at the time, well, why can't I be the first? I had the mindset at the time, I didn't see somebody doing it. So, uh, okay, move along. Especially since I was doing fashion pageantry. I was actually swimming. That was my sport that I was involved in. So it's not as if I didn't have anything to occupy my time, in other words. So that got pushed to the back burner.
Hmm.
How it came to the front is like a lot of other businesses that started last year in the pandemic, right? The idea was presented to me because my show is on Flex FM, and the TC, he's the owner, came to me and said, hey, you're fashion, you want to do a show? I'm like, me do a show? And then everything from the back came to the front. I'm like, huh, can I? What am I doing? I mean, I was working full time. I was one of the lucky ones that did
Right.
have a full time job still
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic. But I said, can I? I mean, I'm not young anymore and all of that kind of stuff. Do people of my age do this kind of things? And I'm like, why not? So this was around November last year that he presented the idea to me, and it took some months of working to, tweaking and all of that. And so my first show was March, the last Saturday in March. I think that was March 27th this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been doing it for a year yet, but I'm loving it. The show covers topics in fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle. So I've had people on from designers to people that make wines and spirits and entertainers, big entertainers like Ed Robinson, Wayne Armand, Omari, stuff like that. So it's
You see, I don't hear you say poet, So I'm just waiting for the poet time where I can come on the show and
of
demonstrate my
course,
thing.
of
You know what I
course,
mean? But
of
hey,
course, of
just
course. We have to.
it's not my time yet. I'm just waiting. We good. We good.
Oh, geez. No, man. So now that I know, hey, poets,
Hey,
you
hey.
know. So usually my show can cover almost anything that's out there especially under the lifestyle, real estate, interior design, things like that. So I what I tried to do and the intention for the show was to give people a voice or an avenue, those people who wouldn't have the avenue to like go on a CBS or an NBC or a major station to expose their business and
Mhm.
tell what they're doing in the community or what they're doing in their business and stuff like that. So that's the intention for my show, my little way of giving back
No,
to
I
the
appreciate that. I can truly appreciate that, Julian, because I think because sometimes the only difference is fame, famous recognition and stuff like that. But the
Mhm,
actual quality of the work is the
mhm.
same.
Right,
Sometimes better. So you have some little man in some little community put it in some quality work, but nobody knows this guy. You're never gonna
right,
see him. You're never gonna see him on and CNN or MSNBC. He's
right,
not gonna be on 60 Minutes. But the work that he's doing for the community is legit work. He's
right,
legitimately helping people. So I think for people like G. Cole, I'm trying to do my thing myself. Just
right.
anybody that can bring these people to the forefront and say, hey, here's this little man down here. He doesn't have it all figured out, but he's doing something to help people.
Or it's not that they don't have things figured out. It's just that you have figured out, but either you don't have the finances or, as you say, the fame to get on a show like Oprah
Right.
or CNN or Saturday Night Live or something like that. So they
Mm-hmm.
have it figured out. They just need to
The
find ways
platform.
to get it from here to actually,
The platform, yes.
implement it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, the platform.
Man,
So
I'm sending one of my book to Oprah. I sent one of my book to Oprah. I'm waiting for her to call me.
how long ago was that?
No, I'm working on it because
Oh, you're working on it.
her
Okay.
contact is not exactly in the yellow pages. You can't exactly go to the yellow page and find Oprah. You actually have to diligently go about finding her to send it to the right
You have
place.
to
So she
find
actually
somebody
gets
who
it.
knows somebody who knows
Yes,
somebody who knows somebody who
yes,
knows her. Okay.
yes.
All
That's
right.
kind of how that works. You don't just
Okay.
Google Oprah and her number and address comes up. You know
Well,
what I
here
mean?
what? Because we're in the same space, you help me, I help you,
Hey, hey,
Hey,
put it
that's how
this
it
way. Put it
works.
this way. If she reach out back to me, I call you. Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. So check this out, Julie. Is there anything else do you want to share with us about any of your many areas of expertise before we transition into some poetry and all these things?
Okay, yes. I do want to say that it may look like to some people, all my experience may look like I didn't know what I was doing, and you have no direction, and you're not a finisher. You start a lot of stuff and you just jump and jump and jump. However, I did an interview a couple years ago, and the interviewer asked me, said, "Do you think that all your experience prepared you for where you are today?" And especially now that I have my show, I would definitely say yes, because all my experiences in all different fields has taught me how to talk to people, how to present myself, how to help people present themselves. How, from it being in the fashion or just the TV show, the talk show, and things like that. So don't be afraid of dropping something that is not serving you to go and find something that is serving you or will serve you, because it doesn't make sense to spend 20, 30, 40 years doing something you hate. Okay. I would rather say, okay, after 5 years, this didn't work for me. Okay. You want to have a plan. So you start looking for something while you're doing this job. Yes. Hold on to it a little while. Be smart about it. But if it comes to that point where at one point I had a job and once I drove into the parking lot, I was getting headaches, and the headache did not leave until I left the parking lot to go home. And I said, you know what? This was not working for me. And I put in my resignation without having anything else lined up. Okay. That's not for everybody, but all I'm saying is don't be scared of finding something that does or will work for you, or you even think will work for you, because you said you were going to be a lawyer. So that's it for the rest of your life. So.
Yep. Amen to that. Amen to that. And like you said, the way she went about it is not necessarily the way you should go about it.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to be aware enough to be able to identify when you are at that point and when the change is necessary. And here's the thing, that change can apply to anything. It's not necessarily just a job type situation. That change can apply to the person who you live with. That can be the person who you think.
I didn't want to go there because that's
no,
a totally different
no,
show. That's a whole nother show, Martin.
Yes, it is. No, you're right. But at the same time, because sometimes, you know what I mean, sometimes you're really in a situation where it's like, hey, no, if this change is necessary, make the change. Make the change if the change is necessary.
It may be hard to make the change, but what's gonna be harder? Because you're going to have pain either way. You're living with it, or you do the pain to go through it so that you can, go to better. But you're gonna be.
Can you imagine as the minute you show up at the building, the headache start?
The headache start. You're not
the only person in that situation. There's a lot of people out there right now that when you said that, they say amen.
Hallelujah.
If we did have altar call right now, we could have saved some souls right now if we have altar call right now, because there are many witnesses out there that can attest to the fact that this is what their life is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But now, hey, like Juli-Anne Lee said, plan it out if you need to plan it out. Make sure you check out what you need to check out if you need to check it out. But if you realize that this is where you're at, make that change, because on the other side of it, you're going to be better off. You're going to be better off. I know people literally that I work with that very recently had to double down on their high blood pressure meds. They went from one medication for blood pressure to 2 medications for blood pressure. Why? Me now put myself through that.
Because guess what? You will have the health insurance from the job. However, if you're not performing for a certain period of time, what they will, yes, it's hard if you have medical, proof to show them or whatever, but they're like, if you have to miss too many days of work, or you have to do what our work is not getting done. So guess what? You're in the hospital, or God forbid you're going 6 feet under, they will find somebody else
Yes.
and send you flowers or send your family flowers.
And the
And
people
keep it
who
moving.
you're acting out on, the people who you're acting out on, the people who you're going home and acting out on
I
because you
don't
are
deserve it.
stressed, that
Exactly.
are stressed and them don't do anything, they're the ones that are going to have to be there with you. You know, I
Yes.
mean, they're the ones that are going to have to feed you something through a straw or spoon, should it come to that. If you stress yourself out to the point where you have some kind of significant medical episode, they're the
Right.
ones that are going to be left with you. So here, how about this? How about you make the change now, or make the change before it gets to that point, so that you can actually put yourself in a position where you can enjoy those people and those people can enjoy you.
You see, what I know, a lot of people, what affects a lot of people or stops a lot of people is fear. This thing called fear. Fear of the unknown. Okay, I have 2 kids in private school. If I up and quit my job tomorrow because I finally had it, what is going to happen to my life as it is? My children, they're not going to be able to go to private school anymore, or the whole not knowing how. Hopefully you set up some kind of emergency fund so you have at least 3 to 6 months. A lot of people don't do that, but hopefully you've done something like that.
Yep.
So that is why what keeps a lot of people in stuff that they really don't like, in situations, whether it's jobs, as you said, relationships, countries, locations and stuff like that, because fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to get over the fear, or you feel the fear, but you go through and do it anyway.
And I must say this: if you're watching out there now, or you watch a show later, and you don't hear nothing else that we've said tonight, if nothing else, not sick. If you don't hear nothing else, hear that, hear that, hear that. If the change is necessary for your
Good.
life, for your mental wellness, listen to that part, that point that she just made, that point that I've reiterated, that point that we're making now. Listen to that. If you find yourself in that situation where you are, at the minute you pull into the parking lot, like Juli-Anne Lee said, the headache start, and the headache
Mhm.
not stop again until you leave, that situation is not for you, my friend. You need to
Yep.
find someplace else to be. You need to find another job. You need to find someplace else. If it's a person that is making you feel that way, you need to change that person. If it's a friend, if anybody at all that is giving you that level of anxiety, you need to change something.
Yep.
You understand? All right, Juli-Anne Lee, we're on the Even People Show. And on the Even People Show, poetry is kind of our jam. We can't have anybody on and we don't do some poetry, man.
All
So
right. Since I'm not the poet, you're the poet. So
here's
you
what
get to
I
me
want
out.
to know.
You get to me out of my comfort zone real hard.
Here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know. Juli-Anne Lee, what are you going to read for the... I'm gonna give you my British accent, innit?
Why is it that there's so many people that change to their British accent when they're about to give trouble?
What are you gonna read for the folks here, mate?
Okay, the poem I chose after looking through all the entire book, and yes, there are a whole bunch of them, but since I'm not a poet, I said, let me choose one that I can work with, relate to, and stuff like that. So I chose The Nun.
The Nun is a brilliant poem, my dear. All right, The Nun is what we're gonna read. Juli-Anne Lee, when you're ready, take it away, my dear. Take it away.
Okay, am I reading the entire thing?
Of course, you're reading the entire thing. Don't be nervous. You got it.
Okay, if I knew I was reading the entire thing, I'd have chosen a shorter one. But let's go. Okay. The Nun. She awakes to the struggle of indecision. On the surface, she's a nun, yet she's hardwired to have fun. Her inner thoughts deceive her resolve. It's like a puzzle she can't solve. She thinks the thoughts but shuns the deeds, constantly quenching the need to feed. She derives... I've seen your book.
I know. I know. I'm reading. This is me reading. I'm
She
following.
derives she derives pleasures from things she can't share. She's a nun. Nuns don't dare. So she projects the desired facade. Being a nun can't be that hard. His own desires threaten her chastity. Her appetite borders insanity. She reminisces on pleasures of old. The speaker speaks of streets of gold. Her motivation may last a day, the constant pressure not to stray. If you see her, you'd never know. She's always composed and it never shows. A dormant volcano destined to erupt, a constant heat that never stops. Yet she maintains that which she must. The speaker's focus now turns to trust. She arms herself with sword and shield. The daily struggles of the nun are real. And when she sees him, the one who knows, she looks away, yet weighs the pros. Awkward formality to pass the time, distracted by the reruns in her mind. Haunted by thoughts of what could have been, battling inner demons, trying not to sin, weighted down by the burden she must bear. At times it's too heavy, and she sheds a tear. Though her desires are natural, her intentions pure, she'd be judged if she acted, even called a whore. Frowned upon for doing what we all think, eyes closed, hands raised, heading for the brink. The nun, one under solemn vows of chastity, but this life still exists in reality. Or is she any woman not spoken for who is labeled if a man comes to her door? Maybe she's your ex who belongs on a shelf. Maybe you're just mad at the hand you're dealt. Maybe she's just a woman in this modern world. Maybe she's just an innocent girl.
Yes. I like it. You handled that, Julie. You handled that. You handled that.
Well,
I
thank you,
like
thank you.
Now, if it's your first time joining the show, she's reading from my book called Love Life Confrontation Expression Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man. If you're in it's a book of poetry. If you're in Jamaica, it's in Fontana Pharmacies. If you're anywhere else, it's on Amazon.com. I usually have it in my background. I didn't today, and I didn't mention it because I'm at my satellite location number 5 today. But that's a beautiful poem, Jalili. You read it beautifully. Um, and I'm going to approach this a whole nother way today. So here's what we're going to do.
Oh,
If
Lord. So I'm making you approach something a whole nother way. All right.
well, here's the thing. It's not every day that I get a psychologist, a philosopher, a lawyer, a creative roll up in one person. It's not every day that I have a person like that on the show. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, I want to start at the last 2 stanzas of the poem. And I'll reread the last 2 stanzas really quick. It says,
Okay.
the nun, one under solemn vow of chastity, but this life exists in reality. Or is she any woman not spoken for, who would be labeled if a man comes to her door? Maybe she's your ex who belongs on a shelf. Maybe you're just mad at the hand you're dealt. Maybe she's just a woman in this modern world. Maybe she's just an innocent girl. Can every woman be viewed as a nun? If not necessarily today, at some point in a revolution.
Can a woman be considered
Every woman, not a woman, can every woman be viewed as a nun? If not right now in where they are now, but do you think at some point every woman gets labeled as that nun?
So let me ask you a question. What and I think you would give an answer that most people would give. What do you consider are the qualities of a nun?
But Juli-Anne Lee, what's happening here? What's happening here? What is this? What is this? What is this? I have you here for your expertise. You can't ask me questions. That's not how this works.
No, I'm asking.
That is not how this works, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Did I slip into interviewer mode? Okay.
You're on the show for your expertise today.
Okay. All
You're
right.
not interviewed
Okay.
today, ma'am.
Okay. I do believe that every woman at some point can be considered a nun. Where that point cuts off, are you 10? Are you 20? Are you 30? It's different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
And why I think it's different for different people depends on what it is that they're going through or what they have gone through. If you're saying nun, I'm thinking a nun is somebody that is either totally innocent of stuff and they haven't done anything that rocks the boat for a lot of people, right? Or a nun is somebody that, yeah, they've done some stuff, but they realize that, hey, there is a God and God pulled them from whatever stuff it is that they were doing. So it's either one of the two extremes, right? To classify somebody a nun. To classify a woman a nun. I would say that the older a woman gets, by society's standard, it will be harder to consider them a nun because then you start getting into relationships and you start doing nun things. Right?
I like that. I like that. I like that.
You start doing nun things. Right? So whether married or not, right? Because some people think that those nun things, even if you're married, there's certain things you just should not do, right? So yes, I believe at some point every woman can be considered a nun. That point is a cutoff point, happens based on stuff that they've experienced and how early they've experienced that stuff and how they've approached it after.
I like that. Now let's do this. What are the universally shared feelings or emotions or situations that women go through that make that possible?
Sexual experiences. You mean not becoming a nun?
Yeah, becoming a nun, being viewed as a nun, no longer being a nun.
Okay, being viewed as a nun, total innocence. You have not experienced anything untoward. You haven't been in situations that big people shouldn't be in. You haven't seen stuff that big people are supposed to see. You haven't done the drugs, the sex, the extreme alcohol stuff to put you in situations that you may not be aware at some point after of what can happen to you or will happen to you. And your innocence of the world has just been taken away from you, or you've learned stuff through your own research and stuff like that, that, hey, things aren't what they are presented to me to be as, and you start questioning. What makes you not a nun? As I said, mostly being aware of things that you shouldn't necessarily need to be aware of.
I feel you.
Right. So those are my answers.
Okay. Now, do you think men view this situation the same way women view it? Do you think men, what situations or conditions do you think would make a man view a woman as a nun? Do you think they're the same the way a woman views it, or no?
Well, I know especially when it comes to the sexual part of life, that males would say, oh, you're a nun, you're growing up and you're 14, 15, 16, and as a female, and a guy comes up to you and say, you're dating, you start dating, yeah, man, you have to, this is part of a relationship, even when you're not ready, that kind of thing. However, if they meet upon a girl that is already has that experience, they're not a nun. As a matter of fact, they're a whore, right? So it's like what there's no balance there. You're either nun or whore,
Mm.
right? I think it's for it. That's the thought by men. As a man, you can correct me, yes or no, but I think that's a thought by men.
But I think isn't that just totally selfishness though? It's I'm gonna label you however I want to label you because you're not doing what I want you to do, irrespective of who you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Irrespective of who you are, I'm simply gonna tack this label on you because of how you respond to my desires right here, right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even trying attempting to speak for anybody here because that might genuinely get me in trouble. Now, let's let's do this. Why did you choose a nun, Julie? Why the nun? Why not intellectually in love or being in love or him or gray areas or what other toxic or any other thing we have in the book? Why the nun?
Because I thought, I didn't know. I don't know what questions you're gonna ask, but reading the poem, I thought I'd have some fun with it because I happen to go to an all-girl Catholic high school. So I said,
An all-girl Catholic high school. You ain't
all-girl
gonna get any
Catholic
better
high
than that, boy.
school. So I said, hey, nobody knows about nuns more than I do.
I like
I
that answer.
said, let me have fun with this poem.
I like that answer. I like that answer. All right. I like that answer a lot actually, because guess what? My next question is all right. So the poem opens up at an impasse. We're gonna get into it a little bit here. The poem
Okay.
opens up at an impasse. Stanzas 1 and 2 paints us a pretty vivid picture of the gravity of the situation that this nun finds herself in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what? I'm going to reread 1 and 2 just in case people don't have their books handy.
Okay.
Stanza 1 says, she awakens to the struggle of indecision. On the surface, she's a nun. Yes, yet she's hardwired to have fun. Her inner thoughts deceives her resolve. It's like a puzzle she can't solve. She thinks the thoughts, but shuns the deed, constantly quenching the need to feed. She she derives pleasure from things she can't share. She's a nun, and nuns don't dare. So, like I was saying, this woman or this person is clearly at an impasse. They're clearly have a bunch of situations and things that are very complex to deal with. Now, what are the coping mechanisms that she uses throughout the poem, and what coping mechanism would you suggest a woman use that is faced with a similar dilemma?
Okay, your first question is what are the coping mechanisms in the poem that she uses?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um well, first, even in the second stanza, she derives pleasure from things she can't share. So her coping mechanism is she doesn't share it because there are people that if it comes out of their mouth something that they want to do, or if they start doing something, that's it. Horse out of the gate, you're carrying them in.
True that.
So sometimes you just don't share stuff that you're thinking, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people may not be able to handle it either, because they
Mm-hmm.
think you're supposed to act one way and you want to act another way. So you know what? I just don't tell you and you won't give me no grief. All
True
right.
that.
So the next thing is she projects the facade. That's the third stanza. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you want me to act such a way. I'll give you that. I like the way you want me to act for a while. Right? But I like the way you want me to act. Um, the next thing is, let's see.
Stand now, now, now. Stand now,
Sometimes,
now.
sometimes, as I forget what stanza is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sometimes as coping in the eighth stanza, sometimes you just shed a tear, sometimes you just bawl, right? It gets so heavy that sometimes it doesn't make sense to keep stuff in. Just sometimes you just have a bawl, then you don't bawl forever though. Because I was told by my mother, listen, the pity parties don't, not too many people want to stay at pity parties. So you give yourself 24 hours and then you keep it moving. Yep. Right? Yep. So sometimes you just have a ball and then sleep and then wake up and then, say, okay.
This is it. Move on.
Move on. How am I going to move on? Let's see. And those are the main coping mechanisms I see that she does. What are the what was the part B?
Oh, part B, like I said, my questions always have to.
Yeah, that's why I said let me handle part A first.
What coping mechanism would you suggest for a woman experiencing a similar dilemma like the nun is experiencing here?
Get out of the nunnery. Because she's obviously having issues living the life. Because maybe she's learned other things that says, hey, there are other things out there in the world that I want to do that doesn't, just because I'm not a nun does not make me.
Julian, hold on. Julian, the scriptures, when I went to Sunday school back in the day, the scripture says the Lord doesn't call the righteous, he calls sinners to repentance. Sinners to repentance.
Okay.
So why the woman have to discard the nunnery and go back into the world? Why she can't shun the world and the devil and like the good Lord calls sinners to repentance? She
have no sense. Listen. Just like everybody not meant to be a lawyer and you can do your good while in another space, the nunnery may not be for you. I'm sorry, but this may not be the place for you. What are you going to do? Die and go crazy and then they commit you in a madhouse and nobody hears from you again, which that has happened, by the way, with a lot of nuns. Because you cannot live the life. Forget, bodily urges, sexual urges you have, or you may want to go and you may want to be a singer, gospel music, or you may want to go out there in the community and be helping, orphans or foster children or whatever. You may want to do other things that being in the nunnery does not afford you the ability to do. And you have those skills and you're not able to do it. So are you going to say it's just like you finish law school, you have to do law just because you finish law school? You can't make a change if that's not something that's working for you. No, that's one advice I would give. That wouldn't necessarily always be the first advice that I would give, because I'd say you should be checking out and getting something that a lot of our people still have an issue with: counseling, therapy, right? Speak with somebody on what it is you're going through. Okay. Bounce ideas off other people. I don't know how it works in the nunnery, if you're even allowed to do that, or if God is the ultimate counselor, right? So you may need to talk to somebody outside of the walls of the nunnery in order to help you deal with what it is you're going through and your indecision and the crossroads that you're at, because you know that everybody in the nunnery is going to say God, and God is the answer, and God is the only way, the only answer, stuff like that. So as I said, I don't know how the inside of nunnery works, but counseling and therapy to figure out what do I need to do where I am? I'm not able handling this mentally properly. Okay, because if you don't handle indecisions like that, they eventually start acting on your mind.
Juli-Anne Lee, all right, I have a curveball for you, boy.
Lord
I'm
have
gonna
mercy.
slow it down. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. I'm gonna go back to the first question I asked you was about the last two stanzas of the poem.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go back to the last two stanzas of the poem, and I'm gonna
Okay.
pick out a couple lines here.
Uh-huh.
And one of the lines says, "Or is she any woman not spoken for, who is labeled if a man comes to her door? Maybe she's your ex who belongs on a shelf. Maybe you're just mad at the hand you're dealt. Maybe she's just a woman in this modern world. Maybe she's just an innocent girl." Is this poem about a nun at all? Or is the whole concept of the nun figurative in its entirety? It does this poem has anything to do with a nunnery, a pope, a priest, or anything like that? Or is it more to do with these things that are mentioned in this last two stanzas?
Well, it does, because the a nun and nunnery are seen as just like a monk and a monastery on the male side. They're seen as the most holy of careers that you can have. Anything, priest, pastor, pope, nun, father, whoever, right? And so if you want to do anything comes that's not in line with what is written for you, and that whatever rules you have to obey and go with as a nun or father or monk or whatever, then that's where the indecision lies, right?
Mhm.
um the But that is just a nun and a nunnery is just one part, a small part of society, right?
Mhm.
Because you have that situation where people are at a crossroads all the time. You don't have to be a nun to be at a crossroads.
Right.
You can be at a crossroads of, as we said earlier, changing careers,
Mhm.
changing spouses, changing schools, changing countries that you live in, changing anytime it comes to a change, right? So that is what, to me, this poem really is relating to: change. And how do you handle change?
I had to laugh at that comment. It's like married
Yeah,
people asking a single person for
for
advice.
advice.
That's a good one, the Lord Dixon. That's a good one.
Yeah, so to me, this poem is about, more than just nun and nunnery, but because the nun and the nunnery is just a small part of, everyday life.
Mhm.
This poem can apply to everyday life, everyday people.
Okay, good. Glad you said that. Now, is the source of the pressure, is the source of the stress internal or external?
Well, source of pressure can be both internal or external. You're talking about here in
Yes.
this.
Like we talk about her waking up with indecision. We talk about her seeing the one that knows, the one that knows about her
Mhm.
past or knows about the things that make her that creates the situation that she's experiencing in the nunnery. But are these things more internal, or is she more worried about what everybody outside looking in thinks of her?
Ultimately, I think it is internal, because people of all kinds can put pressure on you. People from outside the nunnery, people from inside the nunnery, they can put pressure on you. How you are the one that ultimately have to make the decision.
Mhm.
So if you're getting mentally unhinged because of that, it's because you have not decided yet how it is you're going to handle it,
Mhm.
right? So you are putting on pressure on yourself to say, okay, I have to make a decision somehow at some time. And the fact that external what external wants is different from what internal wants, somebody is going to be made unhappy. Okay, and sometimes that person, the nun, does not want to make anybody unhappy.
Yeah.
But guess what? I know so life go.
No problem.
So I would say, as long as your decision is not hurting anybody to the point of you're killing them, you're putting them in a worse situation and all of that. And I say you have to make a decision that's going to make you be able to be fulfilled and make you be able to go to sleep at night and sleep properly.
No, with that in mind, Julian Lee, one of the wrap up questions I have for you. Are there any lessons to be learned here? And if so, what are the lessons to be learned here from this whole non-concept?
Okay. I would say ultimately, and I think we kind of covered this in the first part, before we started the poem. You have to do things, or you have to find something that's going to fulfill you in life. And if you're placing pressure on yourself to do things that you think you should be doing because other people say you should be doing it, that's just going to constantly give you more stress. If you're doing something even because you think you should be doing it, right? If that's really not what you should be doing and you're starting to have a conflict with that, you need to make a decision that, hey, I made the wrong decision. Okay, how do I change this? Right? To get me back on a proper path. Okay, so you don't have to be living for other people per se to be unhappy. You can make decisions yourself that you say, man, I spent at one point I did want to be a lawyer. 10 years down the line, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So what do? Just because you liked it for 10 years? No, you're not going to like everything that you're doing 100% of the time, right? But when it gets to that point, like what happened to me, where I drive into the parking lot and the brain knows that I'm in the parking lot, so it starts hurting me. And then the brain knows when I walk out that door and click my alarm for my car and go in my car, right? So that's why I say you make decisions on what makes you feel happy and fulfilled. Okay, so don't be scared to do it. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't think that, man, I've done this for so long, so I can't change now. What is it going to look like for my parents who they've been saying, my daughter's a lawyer for 10 years, to my kids who see me doing something and all of a sudden decide to switch, things like that. It's at some point you have to think of you before you can think of others.
Yes.
So
I like it. I like it. I like it, Julian Lee.
that's
And that's why I was reiterating the point when you made it initially. And it's like, because I think there's so many persons out there that are stuck. I did a show last week. About people that are emotionally stuck.
Right.
People that need to process emotions and traumas that they've experienced at some point in their life that they have not worked through. And the point I was making with that show was, if you don't process it, you actually can't move forward.
Right.
You act sweeping it under the rug, ignoring it, treating it like it's not there. None of this actually gets you past it. Reacting to it negatively. One of the examples I gave was that one person is always miserable. Every year, they're miserable. They never have no good visit. They're just miserable all the time. And sometimes
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's because I know a couple of people like that.
Of course we do. We all do, Julian. We all know somebody like that, that's just miserable all the time. And sometimes it's just they had something. And sometimes it's some legit things.
Yeah.
But they don't actually work through it because Black people don't do therapy, or this don't that, or that don't do this. And they don't actually seek the help that they need to help them work through it.
Right.
And until they work through it, I think one of the things I said is that you're now a victim of it.
Yep.
You are now, your entire life is now being held hostage by this experience that you went through because you don't work through it. You're either responding to it, you're sidestepping it, and you're now a derivative of it. But until you process it, you're still stuck with it.
Or not only are you stuck with it, but other people end up being stuck with it. Just to give you a background on my, background in psych, what I concentrated on was child and organizational psychology, right? So the thing is that if you don't deal with the stuff that happens in when you're a child, the same thing is going to end up happening in the workplace. So you see, when you have, because organizational psych is for psychology of people, of employees, people in the workplace and stuff like that. So that's why when you go to work and you see somebody acting up and you say, man, he's just a big baby that wants his hand held, it's because they went through some trauma and they never got the hand holding or the counseling or the thing to the talking to somebody to deal with what it is that they went through. So they've grown up with that 20s, 30s, and you see a 45-year-old person that acts like a 4-year-old because they never dealt with what happened to them as a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you're right. If you don't deal with your trauma, not only do you can't move forward, but that's a big contributor to the people that are in your lives. You start affecting them, whether it's work, whether it's your family, you end up getting married and have kids and whatever, and they don't know why you're acting like this. You don't even know why you're acting like this because you didn't deal with it. Right. So it's not only you that deal with it, but other people that are around you.
And sometimes they're fully functional. Sometimes they are fully functional in every other aspect of your life. They're high functioning people. It's just this one particular.
Okay, so high functioning and fully functional are two different things.
Well,
so
let me
high functional. High functional.
They're high
right.
functioning.
Right.
They're high functioning people, and in that particular aspect where they have that door that's shut, it's kind of like that thing that mommy have there that she say you can't go through that door, or you can't open that cabinet, or you can't look in that closet, or whatever it is. It's almost like there's this thing. Now we'd call it, in another scenario, we'd call it the elephant in the room. It's like the elephant is there and we're supposed to act like it's not there. We're not supposed to talk about it. We're supposed to act like we don't see it. We're supposed to act like it's not right there, and we just carry on.
Yeah.
But it's there. And until we deal with the fact that it's there, we can't actually deal with the fact that it's there. You know what I mean?
Right. And you think
that before I let you go, my dear, and I thank you so much. I had such a lovely time.
All right, so did I.
Is there anything else you want to share with us, whether about the first part of the show, the second part of the show, or just the Juli-Anne Lee, the truly Julie experience? Let's hear it.
Well, I love the show. I mean, I have to admit that your show, I've always either caught the beginning or the poem, but never caught a full 1 hour episode. So this is the actual first 1 hour episode that I'm catching. So no, but I love it. I love the concept. I love everything. I love the fact that okay. So where are the other 4 places that you've been to since you started your traveling series?
Oh, well, here I've done this show from clearly from the United States. From the US, I've done it in Florida. I've done it in Minnesota. I think I did an episode from New York or Jersey, one of them. I've done it from Jamaica. I've done it from Mexico. And I'm doing it from St. Lucia now.
All right, the traveling project, the traveling project, right?
Project. Yep.
Yeah. So as I said, thank you again for having me on the show. Just to reiterate that my show is the Truly Julie Experience, and it comes on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. and it's on Flex FM Radio if you're on Facebook, or www.flexfm.online. That's a website. So, catch me if you can. All right. And
Right?
Thank you again for having me on the show. I had fun.
All right, Juli-Anne, thank you, my dear. Take care, and we link. See?
All right, then. All right.
Blessings. All right, peoples, that's the ball game. That is a ball game, and that was Juli-Anne Lee, and I had a lot of fun. And if we had another hour, I could prick her brain for another solid hour and not have a problem. You know what I mean? But thank you for joining me. If this was your first time joining the Evening People Show, this is what we do here. You know what I mean? We meet interesting people. We talk to them. We talk about contributions that they're making. And the things we try to pull out when they're on the show is always something that you can get a takeaway from. And halfway through the show, I drew a line as to something that if you take away nothing else, take this away. If you join the show after the fact and you don't know what that is, go back and find out what that is. And I'm sure at any point you join, you would have heard something that can move you forward, that can catch you in a positive vibes. And that's just what we do here on the Evening People Show. My name is Martin Matthews. I'm your host. If you don't have my book, it's called Love, Life, Confrontation, Expressions, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man. It's a book of poetry. It's in Fontana Pharmacies in Jamaica. That's Montego Bay, Mandeville, and both Kingston locations. It's available on Amazon.com worldwide. Check it out, you know what I mean? Get some poetry for your mental wellness. And no matter what you do, how about you just take care? All right? I'll see y'all next week. We'll have a good show for y'all and we have some fun doing it. Bless.